I can issue visa to anyone, not just Nigerians, to anyone in the world.
And as we're having that discussion, one of the things that I have to continue to prove to people is that they are real Nigerians that are not looking to run away. And the conversation around that is super interesting. How I have to justify to that we can actually create a gate that allows us to screen out people because we know them better than they ever see us. And we can tell you who is going to run away.
Meet Bayo Adedeji, Group CEO of Wakanow. He took a business operating in just 3 countries and scaled it to more than 30. Delivered over 150% revenue growth, created more than 2,000 jobs, and forged landmark partnerships with the Saudi Ministry of Hajj and Umrah, MasterCard, Flutterwave, and Outpace. He didn't just grow Wakanow, he helped redefine how Africa travels.
Our Umrah visa, for instance, we've had about 5,000 applicants. We only processed about 1,000. And it's super interesting because the Saudi government does not check who we said. Whoever can stop us is trusted that we verify the person and below the person and they issue the visa. But we created a gig that allows us to look at the profile, look at the customer, and then decide internally if we need to take that risk or not. And because the risk is inherently ours, we're able to send more to Saudi than ever done.
Today on Broken Signals, we discuss the business of movements and ask the $60 billion question: can Africa build a borderless travel economy?
Good to have you today. How are you feeling?
I'm excellent. I am excellent. Bright and early though on a Friday.
Right. It's always great to have you and chat. I remember our conversation that was launched on a Sunday a few months back, and we're talking about how it's really difficult for us to travel as Africans, and you kept narrating the story of, I think you were trying to get a contract done with the Saudis to allow Umrah visas to be processed, right? How did that go though?
Went well. I'm happy to announce that Wakanow is the only company in Africa that can issue Umrah visas in minutes. You can actually log on to umrah.wakanow.com and get Umrah visas. And honestly, as proud as I am of our achievement, it's just a step forward. This week I was in Ghana negotiating for us to get e-visas online. Some e-visas.
Ghana is visa free though.
So, try again?
Ghana is visa free, no?
No, so I was negotiating with someone in Ghana that have access to get some e-visas. And as we're having that discussion, one of the things that I have to continue to prove to people is that they are real Nigerians that are not looking to run away. And the conversation around that is super interesting. How I have to justify to them that we can actually create a gate that allows us to screen our own people because we know them better than the embassy does. And we can tell you who is going to run away. Our Umrah visa, for instance, we've had, I think, about 5,000 applicants. We only processed about 1,000. And it's super interesting because the Saudi government does not check who we said. Whoever comes from us is trusted that we verify the person and we know the person and they issue the visa. But we created a gate that allows us to look at the profile, look at the customer, and then decide internally if we're willing to take that risk or not. And because the risk is inherently ours, we're able to send more people to Saudi than we've ever done. And that is the future of travel. And that's where Wakanow comes in. And that's where I sit. That's where the rest of my team sits. And we're super excited about the things we're trying to do for Africa because it's about opening doors. And I can issue visa to anyone, not just Nigerians, just anyone in the world that wants to go to Umrah. Wakanow.com is going to be your place to go.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So my very first
Sorry, I
question.
don't think these people understand. 18.5 billion people go to Umrah every year. 18.5, right? Let's do the math. The visa program makes about $100 per visa, right? On 18.5 million people, right? If I'm able to get 5% of that, and because our head office is in Nigeria, and I hire more people in Nigeria, and we bring more people to Nigeria, just think about what that means for our economy. But if you don't shop with me, you're going to miss your flight in Jesus' name.
Just putting that inside. I think my very first question is one that, I personally have a keen interest in. And, I think I remember I was traveling to my trip to Doha, no, to Paris. And I was like, okay, it's still far off. Can I do a stopover in Kenya and then from there go to Paris? And you need to see the cost of the prices. It was crazy. right? And I asked myself, and I was flying with Kenya Airways, and it was which I expected to be very cheap. And I was expecting a far lower cost than an Air France directly to, with a stopover in Paris and in Kenya and to Paris. So my first question is African travel expensive because airlines are greedy or because the system is just fundamentally inefficient?
None of the two. I think the first thing we should do is decouple the price of flights. Let's decouple it. 40% of the cost of flight goes to the airline. 25% is what we call fuel surcharge. That is the fluctuation in the price of aviation fuel. 35% of that is taxes. So let me say it again for those at the back. 40% goes to the airline, 25% is driven by the cost of crude oil, 35% is driven by taxes, charges. When you fly over a country, you pay. You fly over. Just because you talk to their tower, you pay. They call it overcharge. So when you think about traveling in Africa, now people talk about Europe and talk about how it's easy to travel within Europe. Traveling within Europe is fundamentally different because they have domesticated flights within Europe. It means that it's like flying to Lagos to Abuja to go from London to Spain. There's no overcharge. They've waived a lot of charges. So it is cheaper to fly Europe because it's domesticated. Africa is not. If you fly from here to Ghana, sometimes it is cheaper to fly to London than to fly to Ghana. Not anymore, but before. Right? So again, the efficacy of flight is decoupling this cost. So a lot of times there's a need for us to speak up and talk to our government, not just the government of Nigeria, but the government of every country that airline flies. There's a need for us to kind of voice out the reason for us to. There's been multiple agreements signed, multiple deals signed, multiple conventions about domesticated flights. If they domesticate the flights in West Africa, our cost of flight will probably go down 20 to 25% because of the elimination of that border fee. And it goes beyond that. The Dangote refinery, hopefully, as they get up to speed, that we can figure out the cost of crude oil, will mean that for airlines that fly to Nigeria can buy aviation fuel for a little bit of a cheaper price, then the cost of flight comes down. When you think about that, you now know that it's not the greed of the airline and it's not inefficiency. We do have some. But the entire system is rigged, that the business of flight and travel in Africa is not successful. The system is rigged against us. I will make one more comment. The entire flight travel in Africa is smaller than the size of travel in Spain. Let that sink in a little bit. We don't have critical mass just yet. Critical mass means the number of people that can afford to fly, right? That is the critical mass that then drives efficiency. Oftentimes when you fly, you find 60, 70% load factor. That means 30% of the flight is empty because there's not enough people that can afford, that have the disposable income to afford flight. Flight is still a luxury product, not a necessary product in Africa. So until we get to the place where our economies have enough people that have the disposable income, that we can get to critical mass of travel, that our flight is bigger than that of Spain as a country, our continent is smaller than Spain, a country, then we now have business. And I think that it is the combination of all these factors that lead to the cost that we pay for flight, not just one. Of course, maybe I'm a bit technical and it's easy to blame government. So let's blame them, blame government.
But tell me though, if Wakanow removed itself from the current system, would travel get better or worse?
I have a perfect answer for you. In 2006, the first time that I was ever going to take an international flight, I'm going to a travel agency in Airport Road, Ikeda, and I told them I needed a flight to New York. And the woman told me to sit down. And she checked. After 2 hours, she looked at me and said, it's 500K. And I said, my entire savings to go to America is 1 million. I can't pay 500K. I started begging. And I begged for another 3 hours. Then she went back to her computer, and checked, and then said, okay, bring 350K. And I willingly took the cash out of my pocket, counted, paid her. They said, okay, wait. I waited for another 2 hours, and then she gave me my ticket. I didn't check it. I just saw that I leave Lagos and I arrive New York. Then I got on the plane, and I found out I have a 23-hour layover in Dubai. But, going abroad for the first time, I didn't care. That's what happens when you remove Wakanow. We will suffer. Because it's the transparency that we bring to the game. The fact that you can log in on your phone and you can look at the flight, and you can see your flight price. You can call your local agent if you don't trust us. Call and say, how much is this flight? They might ask you, how much did you see it on Wakanow? They might now give you a discount from where Wakanow priced it. You then say, I got a better deal than Wakanow. But we were the ones that gave you a benchmark. Because we are truthful, we are transparent. So if you remove all OTAs from the business of travel, it becomes a black box. I'm not sure a lot of you have seen the back end of how they book flights. They call it cryptic. I don't know. I see a lot of young people. MS-DOS. Who knows MS-DOS? The old, and that's how it looks. It is built for specialized people that know how to. I don't even know how to do it. So the point is, you remove Wakanow, you find chaos, you find lack of transparency, you find people not knowing how to get flights, how to get visa, how to get hotel. You find somebody call a price for you and you fly. Might be the worst experience, but you still go through it. That's what happens if you remove Wakanow. If you do put Wakanow in the mix that we are in, you can blame us for your problems. And we would have to accept that blame on behalf of you because we are responsible, we are transparent, and we are visible. That's the difference that Wakanow brings to the game.
Some of the theories that I get about managing people have failed woefully. Like the more you give, the more they will give back. The more you give, the more comfort they get, the more later they come for. I am also seeing in Africa that the best talents are usually the ones that can speak better English. They're like diamond in the rubble. Leadership requires you to also change and evolve. And your people are more powerful than you as a leader. A leader is only leading because he has followers. Without followers, you are not a leader. You're a one-man army. And an army can achieve more than a one-man team can achieve.
I want to go back to the talk about regulators because you said you don't deal with them as much or as often. But shouldn't you be dealing with them? Because because there are flights where you go to see the cost of the flights, and then you get to see the details of the cost, and you're seeing taxes being over 40% or to 50% of the flight's price. Um, Based on the scale that you need in terms of bookings, does that not warrant you to having to go, let me use the word lobby the regulators to want to get that down?
Okay. I will talk from two sides of my mouth. Yes, there is a part that Wakanow plays in engaging regulators and making sure that we are able to have discussions and talk about opening Africa. When we do that not from a lobbying standpoint. We do that as a holistic growth economic incentive standpoint to have those discussions. I mean, that discussion, I've been in this national theater talking to different groups of people like multiple times in the last 2 weeks about some of these issues that you talk about. Yes, we do. But I want you to also think, and I want the audience to also think that we are business people. We are a private sector. We are private. So oftentimes when we negotiate for things that give us an advantage in the market. Let me give you data, right? It's super interesting that you understand this market, especially the market of travel. And I encourage you young people to please come and challenge Wakanow, get involved, because again, we need more tech. We need more folks to get involved in the travel business. In Nigeria, the travel business is about 1 to 1.5 billion a year. Okay. The top 10 travel agents in Nigeria, you won't know their names if I call them, so you don't need to know. And it's not any of the ones you are thinking. You don't sponsor anything on TV. The top 10 make up about 80% of the market. It's big. The 20% is in the hands of about 5,000 people. Splinters. Now, what does that mean? It means that every time you go negotiate, right, you have to negotiate for advantage. That's why we go think about visa. Go think about things that we can use to open the door that can give us a monopolistic approach to win the customer's interests. Unfortunately, taxes and those things that are hard are general. So instead, what we go negotiate is, can we do a full deal? Can we do a full surcharge deal that gives us the 10% advantage? What can we do? Can we give you confirmed capacity deal where I say to you that I will give you 90% load factor on this route? Can we do a deal? We have a deal on local today where you can buy local flights on Wakanow for 125K anywhere in the world on Air Peace and United Nigeria. How did I do that deal? We put a lot of money and said to them that we will give you 4,000 passengers per week, 5,000 passengers per week. That's how we negotiate advantage. So we don't necessarily want to get into the rabbit hole of regulators because it's long-winded conversations. Instead, we go look for how we can use our cash, our strength, our size to negotiate for advantage that can then give back to the customer to give us an advantage to win your interest. And that's how we think. Now, is there need for us to do more advocacy? Absolutely yes. Is there need for us to get and be on the front line of it? Absolutely yes. Is there need for the government to appoint one of my executive as Minister of Tourism? Yes. Yes. Is there need for them to think about us as commissioners and things like that that can help influence policy? Yes. And we do accept already before the nomination.
Okay. I want to talk about the Umrah visas.
Yes.
Yes. The reason why I want to talk about that is because where you sit is a place that is interesting because for you to get the best rates and for you to be able to process some of the visas that you process, you have to go to those corporates and you have to talk to those companies. And I know that, we can always get better representation, but I want to know from what standpoint do you have these negotiations? I know there is the deal about you being, you have to make profits, you have to look for more opportunities. But from where you sit, because there are a lot of people who want to expand into other regions and they want to strike deals with some of these companies there, and that means a lot about that brings some perception, how they are perceived, and a lot of those things. So I want to know from what standpoints do you have those negotiations, and vis-a-vis narratives and perspectives.
To be honest with you, those conversations are hard because you start from a standpoint of being stereotyped. That's where you start from. So they come from a standpoint of fear. The approach by which we go is super important. And I'll give you the most basic one. You do a meeting, they reach out to you or you reach out to them, they set up a meeting and you get on Zoom and you don't turn on your camera, red flag. Because they will turn on their cameras. They will show their faces. Most Nigerians don't even turn on their cameras. Probably because their background sucks, but you can put a background there. You can impose a background behind you. And oftentimes what I like to do is immediately we have the first initial conversation, I jump on a plane and I go there. I sit across the table from you and I sit across and you see me. I'm a great salesman, I think. I think I do well selling. But I represent the country. Number one, I don't get to the meeting late. I don't promise what I cannot deliver. I show my antecedents and my result. I don't go there and promise. I go there and show you data. Oftentimes in tech, we're able to build technology. Thank God for AI. Somebody say amen with me, please.
Because I can build a prototype to a meeting. Well, actually, I can build a prototype on my way to the meeting. I pay 3,000 for the AI I use. I paid most winning money I pay. Because even though that might not be what I said we used to build, when I go to the meeting, I can build a prototype. I can show you what I mean. The Uber visa and how it sell everywhere in the world.
They gave it to 6 countries, 6 companies in the world. We're the first one to go live. We're the first one to issue visas. We're the first one to show them what we can build off. So again, you're not, and I'm talking, they gave it to the big boys. They gave it to a lot of big boys, okay? Bigger boys than in terms of size because they play bigger markets. But the fact that when you then show up, you're able to show them what you can deliver. As a Nigerian, as a black Nigerian like you, the world does not see me different than they see anybody in this room. But when we stand in front of those folks and we have those discussions, the perception that we give now becomes even more critical. Are you prepared to go into that meeting? Have you done your research? Do you have data? Can you spill data? because they judge you as you go along. They judge every single interaction. They judge how you move, how you talk, how you drink coffee, how you place your cup. They judge you. I believe they judge me, right? Because so therefore, I am intentional all through the interaction, extremely intentional. This Umrah visa deal, the conversation started on Christmas Day. I remember that conversation vividly. They scheduled the meeting for Christmas Day. Remember, they are Muslims. They don't know that it's Christmas Day. I didn't tell them that I was at a family function. One of our friends hosts Christmas Day party. Is the worst adult party in the world, I think, because we start drinking from 9 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Day. And we were there, everybody was marrying. They were like, Bayo, drink champagne. I was like, I'll join you later. And when it was time for my meeting, I took my laptop, I went upstairs. I remember vividly, I fixed the background of their room. I was in their bedroom and I had my meeting. I didn't give them the excuse that, oh my goodness, we can't do it today. It's Christmas Day. You know, I was able to adapt to their timeline. And finally, cultural relevance. As a Christian that got the Umrah deal, which is a Muslim play, one of the things that I think was in front of me was my belief and my religion. Yeah. I was talking to them about their religion and how to respect their culture and their religion and their beliefs. It's respect. It's not belief. Whether I believe it or not is besides the point. But it's intense respect for the counterparty's belief and religion and way of life. Not trying to impose my way. I know God told you to be light of the world. Yes, I know. But when you're talking business, your belief has to be set aside and have the business conversation. I have gone and used Zamzam water. I saw everybody using it to wash their head. I did the same thing. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. But at this point, I believe in Muhammad too. Right? I do. I sincerely do. I saw the amount of people in Medina praying in the mosque of Muhammad. And at some point, I asked myself, this many people cannot be crazy together, right? I saw people in Mecca. I didn't go to Mecca. I didn't go to Aram. But I witnessed the amount of people that go for Umrah. Jerusalem does not have that many passengers, right? 18.5 last year. Hajj, the amount of people that I met a woman that's been paying for 3 years to go to Umrah, contributing 20,000, 10,000, 5,000 to go to Umrah, to perform that religious belief. That is the customer that I desire. Again, I can be emotional with you and tell you how my beliefs and all, but people respect you when you respect them. People respect you when you understand their culture, when you speak their lingo. When I enter the room, I don't say good afternoon, I say salam alaikum. And I say salam alaikum, they respond back. I can't say they respond quite well, so I stay in salam. I stay where my lane is, right? And the ability to be able to conversate like that. They send me stuff in Arabic. I don't tell them I don't understand. I learned how to move to a Samsung. I can press the middle button and translate, understand what they said, respond back, translate it back to Arabic, send it, and then put it in English and say, I use Google to translate the Arabic. It might not be perfect, but this is my English version. They see that respect and they understand it and they respect me back. But I go, but I don't face with this. Once we meet it, this still requires me to our Saudi partners. So I can't do it without Angelo for Saudi. And we went to a meeting to interview Saudi partners, and they were excited to have us. When we got there, we started the discussion. You know, I'm American Nigerian, so Americans, we don't greet. We just go straight to business. Like, there's no emotion. We use a lot of F words. And then when I got to the meeting, I was wanted to go straight to business. The guy was like, no, we're going to eat first. And I said, okay. And then they took me to a room, and we all sat on the floor. I will post it on LinkedIn. I will post this picture on LinkedIn. And we sat on the floor, and they put a young lamb. They like to eat young lambs. So not the overripe meat that we Nigerians like, that is tough. And we all sat on the floor, and they were taking care of me and Gabrielle that we went together. And they said to me, Bayo, do you want gloves or you want to eat? I was like, we use our hands. They said, yes. And we all sat there, washed our hands, and ate in the same plate. Even me and my wife. I'm not sure we can talk about when we ate on the same plate a lot. So my immediate reaction was to be defensive. But I understood that that is their culture of welcoming me. It was respect that made them cook that young lamb. It was respect that made them sit down together, and they were trying their best to make sure I was comfortable. And I just dived right in. Unfortunately for me, that day I had 5 meetings, I had 5 times. I swear. So, and I could not tell them I wasn't hungry because I had to fit in. I went to a guy to have a meeting. The guy said to me that for us to sign this deal, we have to go to the Mosque of Muhammad and we have to pray together. And I was like, Jesus, that should not be my immediate reaction. And the guy said, I know you are not probably Muslim, but you're going to pray with me. I prayed with him and we signed the deal. So again, I think that doing these deals require us to be religiously sensitive, to be adaptable, to be intentional, and for us to know that there's a bigger world beyond what we know. There's a bigger world beyond what we were taught. If we were born differently, we would believe differently, and to respect the counter beliefs and not to be condescending towards our fellow partners across the world. Clinton, you have to pay me. I'm doing too much masterclass.
I know we've got the Samsung iPhone war there, so we'll sort it out later. Okay, just to wrap up, I think my final question would be if we made African travel, because see, I think travel across Africa when it comes to mobility is the most important question to have because day after day you get to realize that African countries or traveling through African countries is crazy. It's really crazy. First is with the visa issues. First is the flight tickets being outrageous, and a lot of those flights, issues. But I think that if my question to you is, if we made African travel transparent tomorrow, who would be the most uncomfortable? Is it the airlines or the agencies?
Agencies. The agencies don't like me for good reasons. They call us a bully. They call Wakanow multiple names in the agency world. They say that we're too big and that because of that we use our strength to bully people. And I am out there fighting for more business. Actually, I'm running ads on my phone. Right now, I'm running ads on my phone to generate leads because I have a target. I have a monthly target that I have to meet. As a group, I'm group CEO, but I have a target. How much more you that work for me? You know. The agencies don't like us because we are transparent. Oftentimes, some of the tickets that people buy is driven by fraud and all other things that we cannot do. The behaviors that we cannot perform. The agencies don't like us much. And that's why I continue to say that there's not enough technology in my space. Young people continue to complain about travel, but they are not playing in the space. Everybody is in payments. Everybody's in payments. Or they are content creators. There is the opportunity in travel. It is massive. It is big. Until I got into religious travel, that's when I knew that even Wakanow does not play in the north. The north is the biggest customer for Umrah travel. We don't play that. Like the demand that we've seen from the north was not demand that we even compete with because it was offline demand. They go to the airline, negotiate directly with the airline. Does not even fit into the indices of the numbers that I shared because we don't see that demand. The local agent sent us 1 billion naira to guarantee us our ability to do visa. Like, what be? And some of it, they do this in cash. Again, the opportunity is, and I go back to say, and I challenge every young person here, right? And we can give you the wings to fly if you want to play in this space. Because again, number one, use Wakanow. Use it. Buy from it. Give us your money. Make us bigger so that we can then go and challenge the world on your behalf. The more cash we have, the more hungry we become. The more hungry we become, the more we go to world countries and say to them, I would give you $1 million, open Dubai to Nigerians. You know what? $1 million is not enough. I'll give you $5 million. Any customer that comes from me, debit me for that $5 million and give my people visa. We can start to negotiate, not just from government, but from economic. Everybody listens when you talk economic. When you talk cents and dollars, when you talk money, everybody listens. Right? So I said to everyone, even the scripture says, money answereth all things, including visa.
Right? So if you put money in your account, if you have cash in your account, you get the visa. It's easy. It's easier. So again, I said to the world that
If the world can rally around us, if more people can get into tech of travel, if more people can see that hotel we're not playing at all, are still dilly-dallying on hotels, and that the experience of the world, the revenue bleed down that we have, right? The revenue bleed down that we have in hotels is not even normal. And I'll leave you with one thing. When you go on Expedia to book a hotel, should I tell you what just happened? Money leaves the continent and does not come back for 30 days. And when it comes back, it's less than what you paid. When you use Skyscanner and you pay them for a flight, money leaves the continent and then comes back. And then you continue to look at us to hire more people. How? As how now? Right? If again, there's a need for us to rally around and understand that Africans must support our own African businesses. If you want them to thrive, we must move away from lip service. We must go into real action where we actually support our own. We do business the right way. You hold us accountable when we fall short, and we make sure that we continue to improve our services. That is the way to growth. That's the way of the future. That's the way to open the doors of Africa.
Thanks for that. And I know you talked about AI, being, in use at Wakanow. It's interesting you say so because we're having a session later today or tomorrow with the growth lead at Microsoft, AI for Microsoft. That's Olatumiwa Williams. And the topic is AI is not core for Africans because we have bigger problems. And I'm very interested in that conversation, later on in the day. But I just have one final question for you, and this is personal. Um, Building Wakanow for the past couple of years, right? What would you say has been the biggest lessons the lesson you've learned? And what would you say you would have learned if you weren't leading Wakanow?
oh God. I'll talk about it a little bit because you were the man that opened that door. I have to. Number one,
AI will not take your jobs. The person using AI will take your job. Let me say it slowly for those at the back. AI will not take anybody's job. But the people using AI, one will replace 10. It's that simple. AI has enabled me in my role to be more powerful. Like I feel like I carry extreme power in my phone. Extreme. It's not even normal anymore because there's some interactions that I have that the debt to prepare me for this talk, my able chief of staff sent it to me. I ran it through my AI first and gave it my perspective of what I wanted to talk about that is different from what she had sent to prepare me. And it came out with an answer. And I read it this morning. And me and the AI started having conversation on why this. He gave me the breakdown of the last flight, told me why it was better, why this was better, told me what Wakanow was not doing enough of, that I should make sure I don't talk about. And it guided me to prepare me for this. That's the future.
I don't know how I feel about it now.
Yeah, don't worry. I was guided, extremely guided. Your second question, lessons that I've learned. Africans are interesting, and we are true Africans. We don't behave, for those of you that don't know my background, I work for Walmart, I work for Texas Instrument, Walmart, PetSmart, and Amazon before I came back to Nigeria. I was a troublemaker. Everybody wanted me on their team because I could dismantle any finance theory and I'll tell you why it doesn't work and show you what works. I could act like a product manager. I could act like a tech guy. I could act like a finance guy. And I'll always bring everything to cents and dollars. When I came to Africa, I learned that we, the customer, don't follow rational thinking when it comes to spending. And that if you are not a student of the customer, you will fail here. Some of the theories that I've learned about managing people have failed woefully. Not a little bit, woefully. That the more you give, the more they will give back. It's a lie. Actually, the more you give, the more comfort they get, the more later they come to work. And I've seen all types of things. I have also seen in Africa that the best talents are usually the ones that can speak better English. That the ones that can speak good English, sometimes, that their English is not as straight, are great talents. They're like diamond in the rubble. They're the ones that come all cream and proper. When the tire hits the road, they will just start speaking English. You'll be like, you're not saying anything. I've learned very quickly that leadership requires you to also change and evolve. That as a leader, you cannot be static. And that your people are more powerful than you as a leader. This is the most difficult lesson that I've heard. If your people revolt against you, a leader is only leading because he has followers. Without followers, you are not a leader. You're a one-man army. That is you in your house as the husband of your house. You are the leader, of course. But once you have followers, then you have an army. And an army can achieve more than a one-man team can achieve. Finally, and I'll talk about people as my final note. You need, one of the things that I've learned and I leave everybody with is you're only as strong as the people that you hire. You're only as strong. And if you go out and hire because of emotional reasons, you will get
Emotional results. And if you really want to get to really true character, I have people that can challenge you, that can tell you that Bayo, what you're saying does not quite make full steps.
or maybe I don't understand. People that can make you annoyed because they're challenging the thing that you thought that you have thought true because there's an angle or a corner that you can see. And once you can do that in Africa and find the right talents, if it means paying more, if it means poaching them from other places, if it means allowing them to work from home 2 days a week, if it means bending a little bit because you want to keep great people that are not arrogant, I think you should do it in Africa. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Bayo, for that interesting conversation. It's been 40 minutes of back-to-back conversations, and yes, I do wish you well
Thank
with the Umrah visas. Hopefully, you're able to open Europe up for us in the future, person. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Coming up next on Broken Signals. People first of all start by trying to acquire stuff because that's easy beat. We're going to build a mega billion-dollar data center. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. But ultimately, what it boils down to is the talent owns the knowledge, and the knowledge can tell you two ways. If Africa can get itself together to actually build the largest AI workforce, we wouldn't lose any jobs.